as a beginner you are struggling to make drums. Let's change that. So I've prepared a couple samples over various different genres, which I'm going to be demonstrating different drums and the importance of sound selection for your drums. So this video is intended for beginners. This is the second part of the beginner series. We're going to create a new pattern for the drums. We're going to lay it down here. So if you watched the previous video, you should know how to make patterns, and you should also know what these buttons do up here. So what I've done is I've dragged in a sample from Sparkz. Let's take a listen to it. Now to me, this screams very much like R&B. So we're going to use kind of softer sound. I've prepared a few sounds for this in particular, but we're going to go through the sound selection process for the others. For the snare, this snare seems perfect. One of these rim shot type snares for this sample I think would work well. There are 4 beats in a bar. If you click up here, this is your metronome, and this is going to play all the beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a bar. So drums like this typically go on the 2nd and the 4th beat. So this is basically tick 4. Now we can actually make this snare more interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the piano roll. So if you heard in some songs, they might go like... We're going to replicate this sound in the door. So in between this is where that snare comes in. Now this snare is off beat. So it goes like that. Now we can, so this is just slightly after the beat. So slightly off beat to give it a nice kind of groove. Now many songs also change the velocity of this offbeat snare to give it more swing. Whee! We can also do this just before that hit as well. So it'll sound like this. Just before that beat, sorry. And now we can copy this over and kind of have a nice little snare pattern like this. That's really good. But what we want to do is not keep it so repetitive. So we're going to actually delete that one here and keep the double. So it's like this. Okay, cool. So now we've got a basic snare pattern. Now there's an interesting feature inside of FL Studio that we can take advantage of for the hi-hats. The hi-hat here sounds a little like this. We're going to actually turn that down. And with this hi-hat, we can click fill each 4 steps by right clicking and then going here. Now we're going to go into the piano roll and Control A and copy these over to the middle and turn down the velocity a bit by holding Alt and scroll wheel. This will give it some swing. So we're going to come to the first beat here. We're going to delete this one and put one here. So this is going to go ch, 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 ch. Now for me, making beats like this, I tend to try and keep the hi-hat pattern more simplistic. Now we're going to introduce a kick on the first, just on the first, like that. But for this kind of beat, I think we want to spice up a little bit. So it's like... and then it's going to restart. So this is a very, very basic kick pattern. And we've just got it on the first and the middle and in between here. The best way to perfect your drums is to understand your genre and understand what drums fit that. Yo, yo, yo. Listen, see I'm staring into the abyss of nothingness. They're trying to get me through controlling things. They're trying to puppeteer my mind and my brain. They're trying to get me all up in that case. I don't really want to sit to one lane. I'm swerving everywhere that I go. I'll be switching up these runs right down to the flow. Nobody knows where I go and nobody knows what I really know, cause I really know who I am. Yeah, cool. So this is more of like a laid back chill type beat. This kind of reminds me of like Drake. But yeah, obviously a lot more work could be done to make this sound really good, but I'm just trying to get the basic drum patterns in your head and make you understand that not the same drum patterns will fit every type of beat. So now we're going to introduce a different kind of sample. So we're going to get rid of all this by holding right click and deleting and pull out a different kind of guitar. So we've got this one here. We're going to change the BPM to fix the guitar, to match the guitar. Yeah, so I've gone ahead and just made the samples sound a little nicer in my opinion. So we're going to go ahead and create a new pattern by clicking the plus up here. You should probably name your patterns, but I am a stupid person and do not name them. What am I talking about? I'm fucking... So anyway, let's go straight back to the video. So this, in my opinion, is more of like a trap guitar. So you want to look for trap drums. So let's find a nice snare here. What would help is playing the beat as well and then doing the snare. And I've decided I like this one the most, but I'm going to insert it onto a mixer track and actually turn that mixer track down. A similar kind of pattern to the last, where it's hitting on the second and the fourth. Now, if you want a slower type of beat, you can hit it on the third, like this. That actually sounds quite good. Let's listen to it on the second and the fourth. Yeah. Just to switch things up, I'm going to put it here instead. Now we're going to find a trappy kind of hi-hat. So we've got a turn here. Ooh, I like this a little bit. Not really. I like this one. It's nice and like... That's what I kind of want with this. So like, let's click fill each 2 steps instantly. We're going to do a similar technique with the velocity to give it some sort of swing, just like that. So now we want a kind of hard, punchy kick, because I said so. So now this kick's going to hit on the first as well, so it's like, this is trap, and I like the... Yeah, so we got a nice little groove here. Now we're going to copy this and paste it over by holding shift and drag. Now you can copy this if you want. Really experiment with your genres, listen to what you want to replicate, the genre, and do some magic and just practice. Keep making drums. Like that's what I did when I started making music. I would just find samples and focus on my drums, try and get my drums up to speed, find the pockets where they fit, and then I could start making samples. Obviously, this is not the way I do drums. This is not the like advanced way. I'm trying to keep it as simplistic as possible so you can follow along and keep up to it without like... But whatever, let me know how it is. So for more of a trap type beat, there's a lot of like... So we're going to do that. And I'm going to show you a little technique on how to do it. So we're going to come here and delete this. We're going to stretch out these blobs by hitting Control A and stretching them. So we're going to drag this out, this little blob here. And we're going to highlight it by holding Control and dragging over it like this. So hold Control, drag. And then we're going to hit Alt U. And it's going to pull up the piano roll chopper thing. Baku doctor, Donny chopper. It's going to start chopping up the notes. Now we can play with this knob. And it will chop it in different ways. So now we've got this and then this. We don't want it that much, so we're going to probably do it like this. So let's hear what this sounds like. Now that is insane. That's crazy. And we don't want it for the whole thing, so we're going to cut out this first little blob and drag this here. Now let's listen. Woof, it sounds like a... So what we can also do is, once we've highlighted this, it also highlights the velocity. So now this is how hard it's pressed. Essentially the volume, but not quite the same. So if you put the velocity down low, you can still make the volume high with it sounding soft. So if you want soft hi-hats, you can put the velocity down and turn up the volume on the hi-hat to get soft hi-hats. But if you want the harsh hi-hats, like then keep the velocity high. So velocity is volume, but also how hard the thing is being played. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to right click from the bottom left and then go wee to the top. Now what it's going to do is rise in velocity. So you're going to hear in this that it's going to go from like So it's gonna go from like that. So let's listen. You see what I mean? And it sounds kind of nice to keep the groove. Okay, so I kind of want this only on the last bit over here. So we're going to replace that blob with this blob. And this blob here, I'm going to manually cut like that. And I'm going to make this one a little more simple. So just like that. Same technique. There we go. Yeah, so keeping it very basic. Now we can also do a little bit of like fancy stuff here. Sounded pretty cool. So we're going to click like a couple notes higher. And we're going, a semitone higher. And then we're going to do this really extreme. So we're going to do it as much as it goes. Now we're going to put these down. So to keep this video from being far too long, I'm going to cut the video short here with just those two samples. Now I do have an extra sample in store that we will look at in probably a separate video, maybe a short. Anyway, keep making music. Love you. Bye.